Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video is titled War of the Roses, the real life Game of Thrones. Interesting. So this is our recommended video. Um I think it was as a result of me asking about the royal family, the battle of the royal family between York and Lancaster, and this was kind of recommended, right? So yeah, we're going to check this video together, and I love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's dive right in.
The Wars of the Roses was a brutal clash between two royal families, fueled by ambition, betrayal, and bloodshed.
Of course.
This deadly struggle for England's throne lasted decades, reshaping history and inspiring stories like Game of Thrones. When power divides family and loyalty fades, who truly holds the crown, and at what cost? Chapter 1. Seeds of Discord.
Seeds of Discord.
The Wars of the Roses began as a bitter family feud that would engulf England in decades of civil war. At the heart of this conflict was the Plantagenet dynasty, which had ruled England for over
Oh! I saw another video. I think on this video, the Plantagenet dynasty. What? 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 Okay, you know what? Anytime I see any video, I'm just gonna like click on it. Click on it. Because sometimes they are connected, right? It's history. They are always connected. They are always connected.
At the heart of this conflict was the Plantagenet dynasty, which had ruled England for over 3 centuries. However,
Wow.
by the 15th century, the family had split into 2 rival branches, the houses of Lancaster and York. Both traced their lineage back to King Edward III, but through different sons. The Lancasters
Oh.
descended from John of Gaunt, Edward's 3rd son, while the Yorkists came from Edmund of Langley, the 4th son, and through Lionel of Antwerp, Edward's 2nd son. This gave the Yorkists a complex but arguably stronger claim to the throne. So what caused the feud to escalate? The Lancasters had seized the throne when Henry IV deposed Richard II, setting a precedent that kings could be overthrown. The Yorkists, however, believed this was an illegitimate reign and sought to reclaim what they saw as their rightful inheritance. This rivalry was not just about bloodlines, but about power, legitimacy,
Yes.
and control of the English.
Exactly. Power. I just had to pause it here. Emphasis on power control. When you look at most of the war that happened in history, it's about power control. Emphasis on that.
Rightful inheritance. This rivalry was not just about bloodlines, but about power, legitimacy, and control of the English crown. The tension between these two houses grew steadily, creating a dangerous powder keg waiting to explode into open conflict. Chapter 2.
A
A kingdom in crisis. England's vulnerability to civil war stemmed largely from the aftermath of the 100 Years' War, a long and costly conflict with France. The war drained the kingdom's resources and shattered its economy. Losing vast territories in France was a military defeat and a severe blow to the monarchy's prestige and authority. Powerful nobles began raising private armies to protect their interests, and feuds between influential families escalated. The king's authority weakened and became contested, making it difficult to maintain order across the realm. Beyond politics, the people were exhausted, the economy strained, and the royal treasury nearly empty.
Because exactly. Do you know like how much resources they have to put in with the war and all that? I've actually not checked the English Civil War. For some weird reason, I'm just trying to take my time to check it because I've seen a couple of videos. One is 3 hour long, which we're going to do together. And we're going to split into parts. There's another one that is about an hour long, right? Which we're also going to do together because I love variety, right? I want to check both and compare both because one might be elaborate and one might just be like to simplify everything. So obviously, we're gonna do it together because it's gonna be like an interactive session, right? Because I'm so looking forward to that 3 hour and 1 hour video long. Like the amount of information we're gonna unpack from there. Are you ready? Looks like I'm ready. Okay.
This combination of factors created the perfect environment for the Wars of the Roses to erupt. England stood on the brink, vulnerable
Wait,
to collapse from within as much as from foreign threats.
but why did they call it the War of the Roses or War of Roses? Why did they call it that? Why would they call it War of Roses? Wait, go back. Okay.
He weakened and became contested, making it difficult to maintain order across the realm. Beyond politics, the people were exhausted, the economy strained, and the
Yes.
royal treasury nearly empty. This combination of factors created the perfect environment for the Wars of the Roses to erupt. England stood on the brink, vulnerable to collapse from within as much as from foreign threats. The weakened monarchy after the 100 Years' War ignited this devastating civil conflict. Chapter 3: The Mad King and the...
Wait, take it back a bit. The Mad King.
This combination of factors created the perfect environment for the Wars of the Roses to erupt. England stood on the brink, vulnerable to collapse from within as much as from foreign threats.
Yeah.
The weakened monarchy after the 100 Years' War ignited this devastating civil conflict. Chapter 3: The Mad King and the Rise of York. At the center of this turmoil was King Henry VI. Henry was a gentle and deeply religious man, but he was not a strong ruler. His reign was marked by recurring bouts of mental illness, leaving him unable to govern effectively. Who filled the power vacuum? Richard, Duke of York, was a noble with a strong claim and growing support among the discontented nobility. Richard was appointed protector of the realm when Henry's condition worsened, ruling in the king's stead. However, when Henry recovered, his queen, Margaret of Anjou, pushed Richard aside. This rivalry escalated tensions between the two factions and deepened the divide within the kingdom. Henry's weakness exposed the monarchy's fragility. A kingdom cannot survive long when its king is unable to lead.
Yeah.
The power struggle intensified, pushing England closer to civil war. The fragile peace shattered as York's supporters and Lancastrians prepared for a fight that would decide the fate of the crown.
Oh.
Chapter 4: Roses Draw Blood.
Oh. The English Civil War. Okay. I guess this is actually preparing me towards watching the English Civil War, right? So that when I eventually watch it, I would already like have bits an idea. Oh. Oh, because I was just curious. When I saw it, I was curious. And I wanted to know, right?
A simmering conflict finally exploded
Roses draw
of the
blood. Okay.
crown. Chapter 4: Roses Draw Blood. The
Okay.
simmering conflict finally exploded into open warfare at the Battle of St. Albans in 1455.
St. Albans. Yeah. My curious brain want to check this. Oh, want to know about this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's just it. I'm sorry.
Chapter 4: Roses Draw Blood. The simmering conflict finally exploded into open warfare at the Battle of St. Albans in 1455. This was not a minor skirmish but a decisive clash. Richard, Duke of York, led his forces against those loyal to Henry VI and won, capturing the king himself. This battle marked the beginning of the Wars of the Roses. Suddenly,
Oh.
what had been political tension became a civil
Okay.
war. Nobles across England were forced to choose sides, and the country was plunged into chaos. The fragile
Yeah.
peace was shattered. But why did this battle have such a huge impact? It proved that the crown could be taken by force. The country was divided, and the conflict would only grow bloodier. The Battle of St. Albans was the first in a series of brutal confrontations that would devastate England for decades. Chapter
Wait,
5.
the
The Kingmaker's Gambit.
Wait, does it mean that the Battle of the Albans, St. Albans, that's a different war, or is the same with the English, or is part of the English Civil War? Wait, wait, I'm sorry, I have to take it back. I need to understand that part clearly.
What had been political tension became a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Nobles across England were forced to choose sides, and the country was plunged into chaos. The fragile peace was shattered. But why did this battle have such a huge impact? It proved that the crown could be taken by force. The
Yes.
country was divided, and the conflict would only grow bloodier. The Battle of St. Albans was the first in a series of brutal confrontations that would devastate England for decades.
So, were they two different war, or they were together, but maybe separate sub? The Civil War as a someone explain to me. I need to know. I need to know. Someone, maybe there might not be a video that might explain that, but please, I want to know. Thank you.
Chapter 5. The Kingmaker's Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
No story of the Wars of the Roses is complete without Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick, known as the Kingmaker. Warwick was a master strategist and political operator whose influence shaped the course of the war.
I saw a video about this. I'm sorry I had to pause here again. I'm sorry. Don't come for me. I saw a video about this. While I was also trying to check this particular one. Maybe we're also going to check that maybe later, right? Before we get to the English Civil War. Yeah.
Kingmaker. Warwick was a master strategist and political operator whose influence shaped the course of the war. At first, Warwick was a key supporter of the Yorkists, helping Edward IV claim the throne.
Traditionally framed as a dispute between two of the great houses of England, who were rival branches of the royal family.
However, his relationship with Edward soured over time. Feeling betrayed and sidelined, Warwick switched sides and backed the Lancastrians, even helping briefly restore Henry VI to power. Because in this deadly game, power was everything.
Yes.
Loyalties were temporary, and ambition ruled. Warwick's shifting alliances prolonged the war and kept England in turmoil. His actions exemplify how unstable and dangerous the political landscape had become, with alliances constantly shifting and no one truly safe.
And we see that now. We see that today. Loyalty, especially in politics, loyalty is like, because it doesn't take long for some of them to switch sides or switch parties or switch to whatever. It doesn't take long, right? Wow. That's why I see it's good to learn history regardless, because some people want history repeated, while some people want to learn for the greater good, so it is not repeated. And that is where the problem is. Some people just want to use it for their personal gain. If that's what's gonna go on in the world, we're doomed. Because we don't want history to repeat itself. Because everything we've checked regarding history, I'm sorry, but we are the luckiest generation ever to not have experienced this level of brutality, war. Nobody wants that at all.
Chapter 6.
The turning point.
Points. The battles of Towton and Tewkesbury were pivotal in the Wars of the Roses. Towton, fought in 1461 during a fierce snowstorm, was the bloodiest battle ever on English soil. Edward IV Yorkist army, outnumbered but determined, broke the Lancastrian lines after hours of brutal combat, causing thousands of deaths and forcing Henry VI into exile. What made Towton so devastating? Although Edward IV was crowned king, the conflict continued. A decade later, at Tewkesbury in 1471, Edward intercepted Queen Margaret's Lancastrian forces. The Yorkists, though outnumbered, decisively defeated the Lancastrians. The death of Prince Edward, Henry VI's heir, ended any real hope for the Lancastrian cause. These battles reshaped England's monarchy and future, sealing a new era of power. Chapter 7. Loyalties, Alliances, and Broken Oaths. The Wars of the Roses were fought not only on battlefields, but also through shifting loyalties and betrayals. Nobles switched sides as often as the wind changed direction, making the conflict unpredictable and dangerous.
Yes.
Richard Neville, the Earl of Warwick, known as the Kingmaker, embodied this instability. Initially, a key Yorkist supporter, Warwick, helped Edward IV ascend to the throne. However, when Edward married Elizabeth Woodville against Warwick's wishes, Warwick felt betrayed. So, in a stunning reversal, he switched allegiance to the Lancastrians and helped briefly restore Henry VI to the throne. This political maneuvering prolonged the war and kept England in turmoil. But the most dramatic betrayal came at the Battle of Bosworth Field, when Lord Thomas Stanley and his brother William, initially pledged to Richard III, switched sides mid-battle to support Henry Tudor. Their defection was decisive, sealing Richard's fate and ending the Plantagenet dynasty. Throughout the war, loyalty was fragile, and survival often meant betrayal. Chapter 8. Power Players.
Yeah.
The Wars of the Roses were shaped by powerful figures whose ambitions defined the era. Margaret of Anjou, wife of Henry VI, fiercely defended her family's claim during her husband's mental illness, raising armies and forging alliances despite heavy losses. Richard III, one of history's most controversial kings, seized the throne after Edward IV's death, sidelining his nephews who vanished mysteriously. His short reign ended at Bosworth Field, where he was killed. Shakespeare's villainous portrayal of Richard shaped his legacy, though historians debate the truth. Henry Tudor.
Which part of Shakespeare was, or what book of Shakespeare was this written in? Or talked about this? Maybe fiction? What book of Shakespeare? I know it's not Macbeth. Was it Macbeth? As You Like It? No, not As You Like It. Moshadaba? No. Wow.
Shakespeare's villainous portrayal of Richard shaped his legacy, though historians debate the truth. Henry Tudor, later Henry VII, was the ultimate survivor. With a weak claim, he spent years in exile, but returned with support from Yorkists and Lancastrians. His victory at Bosworth ended the Civil War and began the Tudor dynasty.
That's where
His
he
marriage
married.
to Elizabeth of York united the warring houses, promising a new era of peace and stability in England. Chapter 9. Uniting the Roses. The Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485 marked the dramatic end of the Wars of the Roses. Against the odds, Henry Tudor's alliance with the Stanley brothers turned the tide, leading to Richard III's death, the last English king to die in battle. Henry was crowned Henry VII on the battlefield, but his greatest achievement came soon after. By marrying Elizabeth of York, he united the Red Rose of Lancaster and the White Rose of York, symbolizing the end of decades of conflict and the dawn of the Tudor dynasty.
Oh, now I know why it was called a War of Roses, because I was curious. So one was White Rose, the other one was Red Rose. Because I was like, why they name it War of Roses? Oh.
The Red Rose of Lancaster and the White Rose of York, symbolizing the end of decades of conflict and the dawn of the Tudor dynasty. Henry's reign focused on stabilizing the monarchy, curbing the power of the nobility, and rebuilding England's economy. The Tudor Rose became a powerful emblem of unity and peace, marking the start of a new era that would shape English history for generations. Chapter 10.
Wait, that would shape English
Emblem of unity and peace, marking the start of a new era that would shape English history for generations. Chapter 10. From Shakespeare to Game of Thrones. The Wars of the Roses left a lasting legacy beyond the battlefield. Politically, it ended the Plantagenet dynasty and began the Tudor era, centralizing royal power and shaping England's future. Culturally, the conflict inspired great literature, with Shakespeare's plays immortalizing figures like Richard III and Margaret of Anjou. These stories blended history with drama, shaping how the era is remembered. In modern times, the Wars of the Roses inspired Game of Thrones, with its feuding houses, shifting alliances, and brutal betrayals.
Shakespeare spoke about this.
The Wars of the Roses left a lasting legacy beyond the battlefield. Politically, it ended the Plantagenet dynasty and began the Tudor era, centralizing royal power and shaping England's future. Culturally, the conflict inspired great literature, with Shakespeare's plays immortalizing figures like Richard III and Margaret of Anjou. These stories blended history with drama, shaping how the era is remembered. In modern times, the Wars of the Roses inspired Game of Thrones, with its feuding houses, shifting alliances, and brutal betrayals reflecting real history.
Wow.
This period reminds us that power struggles are timeless. The fight for the throne, changing loyalties, and the cost of ambition continue to resonate.
True.
Ultimately, it's a story of ambition, betrayal, and survival that still captivates us centuries later.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, and comment below with your thoughts or questions.
Thank you for sharing this. This indeed is an eye-opener, if I must say so myself. Actually, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. Let me just confess now. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so I really do not know much about it. But again, this is an eye-opener, and I love this. This is an eye-opener, and I love this. This would also want to make me go check the English Civil War. I think I also saw the Planet Dead Aftermath or something. Yeah, Plantagenet Dynasty, right? I saw that. I also saw some other videos talking about this, but I've not opened it. I've not checked it. I want to also do it together with you. So I'm also going to check those videos to also like expand my knowledge on this. But which play of Shakespeare also talked about this? I want to know. But quite interesting regardless. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and all that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.